So I'm simplifying this complex fraction, and what I'm noticing is that my denominators are all the same here. And when that's the case, it's really quite simple to use kind of our second method for simplifying complex fractions, and that's to multiply by the least common denominator in the top and in the bottom, in the numerator and in the denominator. And so let's figure out what the least common denominator is first. Remember, when we do this, we think about, okay, what does this fraction have that this fraction needs? This fraction has a factor of x. This has x plus 1. So this needs an x. I know it says x here, but it has an x plus 1. It does not have a factor of x. So we would have multiplied by an x, certainly. And then thinking about what does this denominator have that this denominator needs. This has an x plus 1. This does not. And so times x plus 1. And that's our common denominator. If I had multiplied this by x over x and my 1 over x by x plus 1 over x plus 1, I could have subtracted those two fractions. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take that x times x plus 1, and we're going to multiply it on the top, and then we're going to multiply it on the bottom as well. Now let's work with this numerator first, this kind of big numerator, if you will. So I'm going to distribute way over here, okay? Now, you kind of have to look into your crystal ball and say to yourself, when you multiply x times x plus 1 way over here, okay, what's going to reduce and what's going to remain? And what we know is that there'd be an x plus 1 in the denominator and x plus 1 in the numerator. So those would end up reducing, and the x times the x would remain. And so x times x is x squared. Then you're going to multiply over here as well. First of all, take note that the sign is minus. And then you'd say to yourself, okay, what's going to reduce? What's going to remain? And what I'm seeing is an x on the bottom, an x on the top. And so I know this and this will reduce, and you'll be left with 1 times the x plus 1 minus 1. I'm going to write it this time. You don't have to write the 1 if you don't want to, times x plus 1. Great. Equals. Let's keep going with that. Distribute, distribute. X squared, take away x, take away 1. And then you would ask yourself, are there factors of -1 that add up to -1? And the only factors I can think of that multiply to -1 are +1 and -1. Those sum to 0, so this is not factorable. Let's go back here to the denominators now. Same deal. Multiply way over there. You're going to look into your crystal ball and you're going to say, okay, what's going to reduce? I see an x plus 1 in the bottom. There's going to be an x plus 1 in the numerator. X plus 1 and x plus 1 will reduce, and we'll be left with x times the x, which makes x squared. Then we're going to go here. You're going to look into your crystal ball. What's going to reduce? What's going to remain? The x and the x are going to reduce, and the 1 and the x plus 1 are going to remain. Take note that the sign is positive, plus the 1 times the x plus 1. And once again, we're going to distribute. So it's going to be x squared plus 1x plus 1. Think to yourself, are there any factors of +1 that add up to +1? The only factors are 1 and 1 and 1, and those add up to 2. And so that does not factor either. And so essentially, we are done at this step here.